Hello, everyone, and welcome to Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host for the show. The show is also known as PWD Allies Podcast. Check it out on your favorite app, the Apple App Store or Spotify, or wherever you're finding it best suited for you when you're on your way around. And so maybe in the car riding, I don't know, if you're riding a bike or you're on a scooter, whatever you're doing, being mobile, or just walking along, take a nice leisure walk and pop on the headset, listen to the podcast. I encourage you to check it out for sure.
I got my headset on.
Yeah, there you go. And today I have Dave Copeland joining me. Dave is an author. He's a man with cerebral palsy, and he's also a financial advisor, helping people escape ODS poverty. Yes, that's the ODSP in Ontario. Legislated poverty. There's no room for poverty in Canada. So, well,
apparently there is, Brent. Apparently there is.
There is. Unfortunately, there's pink unicorns running around everywhere, and I'm going to have Dave jump right into all this. We're just going to just pile right in and talk about ODSP and people escaping or trying to escape the legislative poverty. Yeah, I mean, it's just with this Canada Disability Benefit going on federally. How do you feel, Dave, with that announcement that the feds are trying to hopefully get it past the goal line to get it in people's bank accounts?
Well, I think it would be great as long as it does not affect the provincial benefits. Like if they're gonna be called back, then there's no point.
Yeah, what's the point, right? There's no point at all.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right, is making sure that these benefits from the federal government for the long-awaited Canada Disability Benefit, it's like it needs to be streamlined to go into every persons with disabilities. There's 1.5 million disabled Canadians on provincial benefits or provincial assistance, however someone wants to interpret it, listening to the podcast, and there's nothing, no pun meant against anyone on how they interpret benefits. I mean, because at one time it used to be a pension, but that was changed back in the 1990s.
More pink unicorns, Brent.
Oh yeah, exactly, and because like it should go to everybody with no clawbacks automatically. And I know that there are MPs that have been pushing for that. I know the federal MP Mike Maurice for the Green Party in Kitchener, Ontario, has been very vocal on making sure that there's no clawbacks for persons with disabilities. So to go to provincial and territorial provinces, and Benita Zarello, and she's been very vocal too regarding that. Recently, there was an announcement on CPAC, Dave. The federal leader, Jagmeet Singh, was on there with Benita Zarello just recently, talking about the Canada Disability Benefit with a reporter that had asked a question like, what's going on? So that's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen with that. I think the pressure is really mounting for financial security for people. For with disabilities, there's no fault of their own. I mean, and I've said this many times on the podcast, Dave, is people are born with a disability. It's no fault of their own. They're they're who they are. I mean, and I mean,
Well,
they love themselves. I mean, but unfortunately, the government doesn't love them.
well,
You know.
let's back up a little bit actually, because
Yeah.
just so you're aware, Dave, I have title cards at the beginning of the show, and the title card that I used as a reflection of the title of your book a little bit, because I put abilities outweigh disability. And I know that the title of your book was "My Abilities Outweigh My Disability," so I titled the title card at the beginning of the show with that abilities outweigh disability, and again, just for the listeners out there, you have CP, I have CP, so we're like CP brothers a little bit,
and we have two authors, and we have
two authors. Right,
so
I was saying before we launched the show, I said you have one up on me though, because I said I'm not a financial advisor, so you have one up on me.
Yeah,
but,
there you go.
But what I was gonna say though is that when I was reading your book, I really saw a lot of parallels. Like it was like when I was reading part of your book, I was like, that happened to me, right? And one of the things I love is I got your humor right away. I think we have very similar humor, because in chapter 1, the title of your chapter 1 is "I shouldn't have moved the car," and it's just like the chapter 1. I shouldn't have moved the car, and at the I think it was at the end of that chapter, or maybe in the foreword, you made a comment, and this is what I really identified with. You said, the doctors told Mom not to expect much of me, right? And then you had this quote in your book. It says, "Despite this, she raised me like there was nothing wrong with me." And as soon as you wrote that, I saw that written, I'm like, yeah, that happened to me too, because I was telling you before we launched, just like I got that comment all the time when I was walking through like malls or shopping, whatever, and everybody's always stopping and going, "What's wrong with you?" And it's so important to have a family that doesn't treat you different. Like I had a sister that just treated me like an annoying brother, and and it's important, and I never had like my parents coddle me or anything. They were like, for example, like a really small detail is like when I was younger, my parents, my mom would just throw the clothes in my bedroom, and just like come out when you're dressed. And like the first while, it would take me over half hour to get dressed, maybe, and then, eventually it got better and better. I got faster at it, but it was like, just come out when you're done, and it was like, that kind of thing. It was like kind of that sink or swim mentality, and it really kind of toughened me up and made me better, like made me stronger, right? Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to mention that I really identified with your humor, and that a lot of the things that you had happen, like. We talked about, you talk about girlfriends in the book too, and about, or, because I kind of talk about that too in my book, about friendly girls versus girlfriends kind of thing. And how tough it is to have somebody accept, a disability and things like that. Anyway, before I ramble on, I just wanted to say that I identify with that. So I didn't know if you wanted to talk about your lived experience a little bit.
Yeah, I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear about your lived experience, Dave. And in your book, it sounds very amazing. I'd love to dive more into reading more on it for sure.
Well, my biggest barrier were people's attitudes. Mm-hmm. I had a friend of mine. Having difficulty with jobs. He recommended that I get a job at the bank. I walked in, I had the interview one day. He said, "I can see you being a bank teller." Mm-hmm. Well, a year later, that never happened. Finally, I had a job. I had another job interview to be a bank teller. They said, you don't have enough experience. To be a bank teller, you need high school. I have college.
Mhm.
And then maybe about 5 years before I got my life insurance license, I walked into a investment um, company to be a financial advisor.
Mm-hmm.
To be a self-employed financial advisor.
Mm-hmm.
And then they told me that I couldn't handle the complexity of the job.
Oh wow.
Mm.
What am I doing now?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what that reminds me of is that this is gonna sound like I'm reaching, but it's not really. I mean, I think everybody that's listening will identify. I hope anyway. There's that scene from Pretty Woman. Remember when she walks in to like a really expensive place, and they're like, "We don't serve people like you." And she says, like, "Well, that's too bad," because then she flashes all this money, right? And they're like, "Don't," And actually, that happened to me too once, because I had, I was young, but I was working, like I was in my early 20s, and I was working. I was making pretty good money actually, and I went into this exercise store, and I had every intention to buy a really nice exercise bike, like a really fat, I wanted to buy a really, really good one. So I walked into this exercise store with like, I think it was like $1,500 in my pocket, like just burning a hole in my pocket. I was just going to drop the $1,500 to buy this bike. And as soon as I walked in the store, the guy looks at me like literally up and down, and looks at my crutches and he's like, literally like, "What are you doing in the store?"
Wow.
Like why are you in an exercise store? And like right away, I go, "Well, that was rude," and I walk out, and I said, and I literally did the same thing. I took up my wad of cash and I flashed it in front of his face, and I said, "You just missed out on a $1,500 sale," and I walked out.
Yeah.
Judgmental, right? Totally judgmental. I mean, it's discrimination, really, and I mean, there's a whole list of things about that. And I mean, I had a similar situation where, for me, I was so short for my age. So of course, you walk in with some friends, they go into this restaurant. Well, I didn't realize it was like a nightclub at the time, and of course, ID. Like, I'm sorry, minors are we don't accept minors in here. I'm like, I'm not a minor. I'm an adult. And it's like, the kiddies area is over there. The kiddies area, and I'm like, same thing. I pulled out some money, really. Oh, I'm sorry, and then I flash ID, and I go, oh my gosh, like, and the last time I went in.
Or you're at the restaurant, and they go, what will he have?
Oh yeah, they talk to to somebody else beside you, or yeah.
Same thing happened. I remember going into a company many years ago, and I was looking for a job, but anyway, I ended up working for the government just after that. And it was a company just turned their head. Oh yeah, we're just accepting applications. Yeah, like, oh, you're not tall enough. You won't be able to reach this and that anyway. And I said, well, if you just give me a step ladder, I can actually do it. If you give me the tool, I can actually do that. But then I'm worried that you could fall off of it because maybe the coordination. I'm like, excuse me, your coordination might be off, and I'm like, that would be for me to know what's best for me. I know what my abilities are, and we're just accepting applications. So the same thing, like it's like judgmental on. I chalk it down. And I just laughed. I walked away. I went, wow, that's what? Well, Claire's like, did I miss something?
On our last couple shows, we've been talking about health and doctors and everything and nursing.
Mm-hmm.
And you had your friend John on the show on the last one. And, you know, I just wanted to say that the very first family doctor that I had, he was great because I still remember him to this day that he was one of those doctors that would actually talk to me. Like he would almost ignore my parents. Like my parents were there, but he would actually talk to me. Like there was other doctors. I was in front of a ton of other doctors, of course, right? I mean, I'm sure Dave, you're the same, right? You just get paraded around, and doctors see you. Like so many doctors see you all the time when you're younger, right? Yeah. But I met one family doctors that would when I came to see him, he would just talk to me and it was like he would just treat me like an adult, and it was like, how are you doing? And it like talked directly at me, and it was so great. And like, you know, he would shake my hand and kind of go, ouch, you know, like, wow, you gotta, and I mean, little things like that where I mean, it doesn't seem like much, but the idea that I had like a power and a, like, you know, the whole idea of like, ouch, you know, when I would shake his hand, like that I had a power and a presence with him, you know, and with other doctors, it was like, you know, like Dave was saying, is like you would turn to my mother and say, you know, how's your son? And I'm sitting right here, you know,
talking to like they're talking to like the third person, rather than actually talking to the person, and treating them with dignity and respect, and treating them for who they are. I mean, I was always taught. My mom would always say, "Do unto others as you want done unto you."
Yeah.
And it came down to like professionals, like doctors, and like my family doctor I had before he was retired. I mean, he was so personable, but he was one of those doctors that just went right by the book. Like he would not prescribe medications, even if I said please. Like I had a really nasty cold one year, and I suffered from seasonal allergies. So I had a real bad head cold plus allergies, and I was just feeling just terrible. Nope, sorry, I will not prescribe something to you. I go, doctor, please. He goes, nope. You have to suffer through it. But I mean, with allergy medicine. But anyway, long story short is the personal touch that you get from a doctor, that personal feeling where that lasting impression, like they shake your hand, like Neil described, they shake your hand, and it's like that, you know, they grip on saying, hey, I recognize you for who you are. And I think that society, and I'm not pointing fingers at any politician or any medical practitioner, but I just think that the society has lost its grip that way, where in some ways where I think that connection is not fully there where it should be there. I mean, I know we have a shortage of doctors across the country right now, but hopefully that will be improved, because I mean, it affects people's health in so many ways. And I guess that kind of as a segue to kind of dive into like the financial part of helping ODSP escape Ontario's
Just before we go there, I mean, we will go there. Yeah. I just wanted to like jump off and make a quick little comment, maybe, hopefully.
Oh, sure.
Because we're talking about doctors treating you with respect, but I also we talk about government policy all the time, and I wanted to say that there's so much government policy. I mean, I talk about the pink unicorns all the time, but we could also talk about government policy being kind of infantile, like that it's speaking down to the disabled all the time, like it's assuming that we're idiots, or that we're not worthy, or we're some kind of less than. Like you can look at the whole thing about that we're not supposed to get married, or if we get married that we're punished, that kind of, like there's no marriage equity. I mean, I'm just kind of throwing that out there, and I do want to get to the whole ODSP discussion too, but I wanted to at least mention that as a
there was one part I was going to throw in there too, Neil. I'm glad you mentioned that. Before we dive into the other part is like there's a declaration card that if you have income to report to the ministry, and I'm sure this is pretty well echoed across the country. there's a part on there. Do you have a warrant for your arrest?
Yeah.
Have you been incarcerated in the last 30 days? Are for real? Like, I mean, that is so archaic. Like a disabled person. I mean, even people on income assistance
Have
or
you
AK
seen
welfare.
have you seen have you seen that, Dave? Do they have that same kind of thing in Ontario?
I haven't seen that.
In BC they have that here. It's like,
Yeah.
when's the last time you were in jail?
Yeah, I know it's on there.
Right on your declaration card. Yeah.
That's one thing I need to bring to their attention to get them to redact that out because it's so archaic. I don't even know why it was even put in there in the first place. But
it's crazy.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that in. That's terrible, terrible.
I actually try to stay clear of the ODSP office.
Yes.
Just because.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what I'm allowed and I know what I'm able to make. So I mean, my whole life I've wanted a career.
Yeah. Well, let's jump off into that then. Like, because I know like your whole thing now is helping other clients escape the ODSP. So let's talk about that then. How you came to your whole thing of being a financial planner. You in your book you talk about the influence of the Kinsman Club and the Canadian Red Cross. You did fundraising with them, and you did the Toastmasters Club. Those three things, it seems to me, the Kinsman Club, the Red Cross, and Toastmasters were kind of those three big influences on you. So you can talk about that maybe.
Well,
interesting.
They gave me the confidence to go on my own and actually be able to be vocal enough to say, no, I can do this. I can live on my own. I can work on my own. I work for myself. If you, but one of the quotes I have in my book is, if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will.
Yeah.
Which means if you don't have confidence in yourself, then you're not going to be as successful as you can be.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
And I mean, I know how confidence works. If you knock on enough doors and not get a job or not get what you want, you give up. I got a friend of mine who's economics. He got an economics degree from the Russian University, and he's actually my twin. He got CP, I have CP. We look alike. We have exact same personality.
Your doppelganger.
And the only difference is he's in a wheelchair and I'm not.
Okay.
Anyway, he would mark down in his cover letters that I gotta find, I need time to book a bus. And he would never get an interview because he would disclose right there that he's disabled. And finally he did not do that. He had an interview and accidentally wheeled in the door.
Oh wow.
And they said, well, you need a license for the town. So, but after that, he just decided, no, that's it. I'm done. But I never got the memo to give up.
Yeah. Well, that's so important, right? I mean, you actually make a really good point about disclosure. We've talked about disclosure a lot on the show, and I know I've talked when anybody asks me for advice about, because actually that was one of my jobs for about 6 years or so. I worked for the Sam Sullivan Foundation here in BC, Vancouver, and yeah, so I was helping other people with disabilities find employment or just get work experience or just get job ready. And one of the things we would talk about all the time is like disclosure, or when to disclose that you have a disability. Like when I was first starting out, I would actually disclose right away. Like I would just disclose right on my resume, like, oh yeah, by the way, I have a disability. And then I realized, you know what, I'm not going to do that anymore, because it's far better to, I mean, nowadays it's actually different. Like you almost don't even see anybody face to face anymore, right? But back in the day when I was first starting out, you met face to face with people all the time, and I just realized, you know what, it's actually better if I don't disclose and I just have a chance to see somebody face to face, and if they want to shut the door in my face right then, they can. But at least I'm there to defend myself first, rather than just having the resume almost disqualify me even before I walk in the door, right? I'd rather be disqualified at the door than disqualified before I even get to the door. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of choice that I made, and like we've talked about here, Dave, is like humor is such a huge thing. If you don't have humor, like that's a huge coping mechanism to get through life when you have a disability, right? And
well, I remember a time where there would be an application in BC. It would say on the application, do you consider yourself with a person with a disability, like, or do you have a disability? Be on the application form.
Yeah, it would
say
you.
Yes or no.
Yeah.
Yes or no. So then I would tick off yes, and then are you going to be able to do the job? The employer said.
Yeah.
The first thing I thought, well, that would be up to me to kind of determine that. And so, of course, I would pull a funny one, right? I'd pull kind of a joke. I noticed that you're wearing glasses. Are you going to be able to see better? I said, I don't know. I mean, could I? I guess that would be for me to kind of figure that out, right?
Yeah.
Well, do you think you'll be fast enough to do the job?
Yeah.
And I thought, okay. And then I saw where this was going. I thought, okay, this is already an X, like this is just, she's already, red flagged me already. Right. So I said, well, I go, well, thank you very much for being very judgmental. You have a great day now, and good luck hiring the right successful candidate.
Yeah.
She goes, excuse me, I'm not done with the interview. I go, I'm done with you. Thanks. And I walked out the door.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Good for
and
you.
I slammed
Good
the
for
door
you.
too. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Good for you. Yeah. What I was going to say is, like, when you have the opportunity to meet somebody face to face, that's kind of where I disarm people with humor a little bit. Like, I'll be the first one to acknowledge my disability, right? If I'm the first one to acknowledge, like, that's the other thing too, and we can talk about this too if you want, Dave, is like, when you go for an interview, you never want to leave the interview thinking, well, does that potential employer have any questions about me? Like, am I leaving that interview with any doubts? Or is that employer leaving the interview with any doubts? And if so, it means I didn't do my job well. So I always go into a job interview like to really just disarm the employer, make sure they're comfortable with me. I'm always the first one to acknowledge the elephant in the room, and as long as I'm the first one to acknowledge it, and then they know, then the employer knows right away that, okay, all the cards are on the table. I can ask this guy anything. I can ask this guy Neil anything, and it's fine. But if you go into an interview and you think, well, I can't be honest, I can't be forthright, then you're leaving stuff unsaid. And if you leave stuff unsaid after an interview, that means you're not going to get hired, right?
I remember going into an interview right after college, And the interviewer asked a question that I did not answer. I could not answer. And I mumbled under my breath. And boy, I screwed up this interview. And the interview did not go well. A couple of days later, when the interviewer called me, she said, I heard you mumble under your breath. And that told me that I needed to work on my self-confidence. Because, I mean, I could have probably gotten the job. But, so I worked on my self-confidence. And I got numerous jobs after that.
Yeah.
But the reason I became self-employed, I was actually thrown into it. Because I was unemployed more than I was employed. So I joke now. I'm never going to retire because I already had my retirement.
Oh. Well, it's good. It's good to be your own boss too, right?
Yeah.
You get to you get to be the boss of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Dave. One experience I had was I had an employer one time also, and so many times, but there was one time it stood out. I was beyond shocked. Like I had no words. I didn't know what to say. I just walked away. Like literally got up off the chair and shook the employer's hand and said, you need to maybe look in the mirror and actually understand what you just said to me, and then maybe go forward with the next candidate for the job. The employer said to me, Dave, was you need to better your health first before we kind of move forward. Maybe look at getting corrective vision done. Maybe some eye surgery might actually help you. That way we will cut down costs that we don't have to, get other resources, other tools to help you do the job. And I went, are you kidding me that you just said that? And I went, I can't believe you just said that. Yeah. She goes, I did. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't hurt your feelings. I'm just telling you what I see. I go, well, what I see is somebody who needs to maybe not be in business. Yeah. So, yeah. And I literally, I had no other words. I was more numbed, but I actually laughed. I walked away. I was laughing. I was laughing because I thought, wow, how arrogant. But and I'm not saying that all employers are arrogant like that, but it was a bad experience I had. But looking forward, I'd say, if a person could be self-employed, if they could be their own entrepreneur, for sure. I think that would be the best way. Or if not, if they can't be, they just give them a basic income. I don't know what your view on that topic. I'm not going to pile on basic income stuff toward you, but if they could not be an entrepreneur, work for themselves, being financially successful, what is your take on that?
Well, obviously they have to up ODSP. The cost of living allowance is not the greatest. Yeah. And for two people living on ODSP or a couple living on ODSP, and they both have it, they cut one person's check.
That's right.
So essentially they're not getting, and that's not fair.
Yeah.
No, they punish one person. Yeah. Because they want to be financially successful, and so they take it out and they take your check away, and then you have to live off of one check and one income.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually have. I just wanted to mention that we actually have Minnie Sinclair in chat right now, and she is the one that actually recommended you, Dave, that we reach out to you and have you on the show, and she's always saying that that Dave has these wonderful strategies for ODSP, that you need to get Dave on the show. So I wanted to know if you wanted to jump off on that now and actually talk about some of the strategies that you talk about with your clients about how to survive on ODSP and the options and strategies that you give your clients.
Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of exempt assets that somebody's allowed. For instance, a person on ODSP is a single person allowed 40 grand and $40,000 in assets.
Right.
Okay.
And I mean, to read through the policy directives, it's so complex. I don't know what it's like in BC, but
It's bad in BC too. Yeah.
I think in BC, Dave, I think it's $100,000.
We have 100,000 here. Yeah.
Yeah, in total asset.
Well, I'm moving.
Dougie needs to get programmed out in Ontario.
Come to BC, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah, Dougie needs to get with the program. Only $40,000 in total asset. Yeah, I mean that's why a lot of people are coming out to beautiful British Columbia. I mean, not. I want to encourage people to come out to BC, but yeah, I mean, they need to change it. I mean, either make it so that give people either a basic income. Either they make it so that people can be an entrepreneur, or they need to modernize the system because the system is so archaic. People should not be punished, Dave. In my view, they should not be punished for who they are. If they want to be married, if they want to live with somebody, and then they take away their income, they say, "Oh well, yeah. I mean, sorry for your bad luck, but that's how the system is. It's the way it's been designed, eh?"
We don't need the government to be paternal on people with disabilities. I mean, I have a parent. I don't need my government to be paternal too.
Yeah,
and I mean, then you have people on ODSP that are cheating the system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have 2 households, so they can get both their checks. And I mean, it's a double-edged sword because then that causes waiting list for
other people,
subsidized housing. So, but I mean, it forces people to be dishonest.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, what are some of the tools though? Like, also like to help people. Like, what would you suggest for them to do if they were trying to get off of ODSP? Like some of the tools, like if they were to come to you, like for you helping them, like suggestions if they wanted to try to get off.
ODSP. Well, just.
I know Minnie's big on investments. Is one like if Minnie was on the show, she would be talking about investments and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Find something that you can do and be the best at it.
Yeah.
And don't listen to people that say you can't do something.
Yeah.
Because you know what? That is their opinion.
Yeah, exactly. If you feel that you can reach for the stars, reach for the stars. Go with what your dream, I guess. I mean, I had my dream job when I was a kid. I wanted to be a bus driver.
That was your dream job?
That was my dream job when I was. Yeah. I wanted to be a tour bus driver. And so my eye doctor said to me at the time, well. Yeah, I mean, in theory, you could be a tour operator, but not the operator of a bus, Brent. You could be one giving out information of where sightseeing stuff is, and because there's ways of working with that. You can actually do that, but you couldn't drive the bus. So I'm like, but why? Because it's not safe, Brent. No, I'm just throwing a funny one out here. I mean, a blind guy, well, visually impaired driving a bus, probably.
Are you doing your dream job, Dave? Would you consider what you're doing now your dream job? If I always tell this too, like when I was doing my job as helping other people find jobs for like people with disabilities, I always said, if there was no limitations, if we're living in a utopia situation and there was no strings attached. and you could pick anything that you wanted to do, what would that job be? And we would always start with that. So I want to ask you, Dave, if there was no strings attached and you could do whatever it is you wanted to do, whether it be an astronaut or whatever it is, what is that job that you would want to do?
I always thought of myself to be in a business environment.
Okay.
So I guess I am living my dream job.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
But the whole reason I wrote the book is because when I was I'm dating myself. When I was in grade 6, I had a teacher, Mr. B, and he always encouraged me to do anything I wanted. And then he got me to speak to some classes. And then he hired me through Nipissing University in North Maine here in Ontario. When he was teaching special education teachers, he had me come in and speak to the classes. And I actually got paid. So I thought, well, maybe I can be a motivational speaker. But I always wanted a career. I just thought, okay, I can do motivational speaking when I'm not working, so I will not have to go back on the system. But now what I would like to do is now that I have a career, I would like to maybe down the road to set up a foundation so I can help people with disabilities, maybe supplement the 25% on ADP,
Oh yeah, that sounds really interesting because like when I was a kid, like I was saying, I wanted to be a bus driver, but obviously I realized that for me it wasn't going to be a reality. However, Dave, is that in the future they could have self-driving buses. See, so I could still be there and I could hand out information, but going forward, one of my dream jobs as an alternative is that I wanted to, if I couldn't pick that as my first one, my second one would have been, and actually I'm working toward it, and I'm actually part of it. It's actually part way there right now, is being a advocate of just bringing people together, kind of like a counselor, but not fully, but like as a talk show, as a radio talk show, and having a segment done where it brings people together for disabilities and talk about lived experience. So part of the reality part is it's progressing forward toward that, and just kind of putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And that's something that when I approached Neil, it's going back time now. He's like, when we first started the show, I approached Neil back in December of 2021 with an idea. So I'll just give you a little bit of a history on how the show came about here. So I approached Neil. I guess it was, well, I know I always mention on the show like it was December. I think it was like late November or December.
Might have been late November, yeah.
I think it was late November, and I said, okay, we're gonna work through this and figure out how do we do this. And I said, I don't know. And you're like, well, I don't know either.
And the thing we should say too is like I kind of had been following you on Twitter for quite a while, and you had been too, and so like. I would just like you would post something about the shelter rate, like 375 shelter rate or something, and I would like your post, and then I would post something about the clawbacks, and you would like my post, and then it would go back and forth, but we never talked.
Yeah, exactly.
And then out of the blue, you're just like you message me, and you're like, can I call you? And I'm like sure. Yeah.
So then I gave Neil a call and I said, I got an idea here. And because I saw people hurting, Dave, so immensely. And that was 3 years ago. And people are now hurting even more worse than they were before due to an economic downturn. And so I thought, well, I need to make some kind of platform to bring people together. So I launched onto Twitter Space, and I thought, I don't know anything about this Twitter. When I had launched Twitter originally, I'm like, what is Twitter? What is a tweet? What is a tweet? So it was a shop that told me, it was a computer shop, and he says, well, it's okay, you know, texting. I go, yeah, on a phone. I go, yeah. It's kind of like posting a text, but it's called a tweet. But yeah, but it's instantaneous. People will see it right away, and they'll be able to interact with you, and you can post graphics, pictures. Oh, neat. I go, okay, well, I still lost me. I said, well, yeah, you'll figure it out. You just kind of go with it and ask questions. So when anyway, long story short, so I kind of took all these ideas, and seeing what people were posting, and I thought, you know what, I think there might be a niche for this. I thought, people are hurting. Why don't, and I thought, I kind of did some soul searching for myself, and I thought, well, as a person with a disability, as an advocate, I thought, I'm going to take this to the next stage. I'm going to approach Neil, and so he said, well, like this launch this on a platform and see where this goes. And it blossomed, Dave. It blossomed. A couple little growing pains along the way, shall we say, what works, what doesn't work, and then so we decided that Twitter just wasn't working. I mean, there was so many things where it was audio quality was just complete crap. Like it was just beyond crap. Like it was some days were good. I'm like, hey,
I was having to work too hard to rescue the audio afterwards. It was,
and then me, I love to talk to my guests a lot, and then I opened up to an open mic, and of course Mr. Chatterbox, I kept it going for hours and hours, Dave, hours. And then I would say to Neil, goes, okay, so split up the segment when the guest goes open to open mic. Yeah, no problem. And then sometimes you get carried on and you start talking about another conversation, but then you forget to send the whole clip it and then send it. So I said, Neil, 6 hours, 7 hours of all this audio. He's like, no.
Well, you were saying earlier, Dave, about confidence, right? And one thing I will say, and I'm sure you can say the same thing, is the thing about being an advocate all the time and putting yourself out there. I mean, you take a lot of bullets. I mean, we can say, like, especially for you, Brent, like when you were on Twitter Spaces, you took a lot of bullets towards the end. Like you were getting a lot of hate. We can just say it flat out. Like you were getting a lot of hate, a lot of harassment, and I mean, all you were just being an advocate, and people were targeting you, and you were getting death threats, the whole bit, right? Harassment, death threats, everything, and kind of that's what happens when you become an advocate and you kind of put yourself out there. And it takes a lot of confidence to keep putting yourself out there and say it's okay. I can take the bullets. And I just want to see what you have to say about that, Dave.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny how I started to specialize in the special needs market in filling out my life insurance license. My manager and I sat down and he said, if you got your mutual fund license, you can specialize, you can sell ODSPs. So I wrote my exam, failed it, wrote it again, failed it. Third time the charm. During the pandemic when my business was null and void.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I never even heard about Zoom.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not a person to sit around and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I registered.
Is this? Would you consider this doing nothing, Dave? Talking to us is not.
No. I registered for the course for the third time and passed. So. and you have to be persistent.
Well, one thing I was saying, Neil, when you had stepped away for a minute, I was just telling Dave one of my first dream job. Well, you heard that one part where about the bus driver. I said, well, eventually they're going to be self-driving buses, right? I mean, that was my dream job. But then I jumped to where I said, well, my second job, I just want to re-say that is that I'm partway there actually, is advocacy of bringing people to get a lived experience, and also I have a radio station, and having as a talk show, bringing people on as guests, and so we're actually almost there. And man, I remember
it's a lot closer. It's a lot closer to a talk show now than it ever was on Twitter Spaces.
Well, I mean that's what a podcast is.
Yeah. Exactly, and
it is cool. Does anybody want to ask me what my dream job was as a kid?
Yeah, Neil, what was your dream job as a kid, and also where do you see things as a crystal ball? Where do you see things?
I always wanted to be my thing is I always wanted to be Steven Spielberg. And I mean it kind of makes sense because I'm a big photo nut. I mean we have Ellen. I don't know if Ellen's in chat right now, but or if Ellen's gonna watch us back. But I mean, Ellen's a big photo nut too, and I love photography, and I'm a big movie nut, and I always wanted to be behind the camera, like bossing people around, and that's kind of even with still photography too. When you get to pose people and you get to say like stand there, and you get the light right and pose like this, and I love that. And
well, that's what Ellen for Ellen. He's Ellen is known as F-Stop Pictures on Twitter. I still call it Twitter. It's not X. I call it Twitter. Sorry, Elon. It's still always going to be Twitter. I know. You don't want to hear that, but everyone says it's Twitter. That's what it is. So, but F-Stop Pictures. Check it out, everybody. Ellen definitely wants positive feedback. If you could help Ellen out on his picture journey, his photography, he's amazing. His pictures that he takes is, oh man, it's great. I love his pictures.
Ellen's another one with CP.
Yes. Yeah, and Alan comes on here a lot, Dave. He's one of my panelists that, sometimes we fluctuate panelists around. And I just want to, kind of a programming note there is, sometimes people will say, well, how come I wasn't on as a panelist? We just fluctuate. We just juggle things around accordingly. I love all
when John was on, he kind of said, because it was his first time, he kind of said, well, maybe I only kind of want one person on, maybe. Because I think it was going to be like, he was going to feel intimidated if it was like a full panel, right?
Yeah.
So like we kind of make sure that it's, we tailor the show to the guest and make sure the guest is comfortable. We don't want to like have them all intimidated with, so that's why we make choices like that sometimes. So
I love having, I love making my guests feel comfortable on the show. And, Dave, it's like I always talk about the big giant container here. It's like a pot and a big pot here, and got boiling water in it. And they talk about making spaghetti. So I've got the water boiling, it's bubbling up, and I throw the spaghetti in. Someone says, well, make spaghetti. Okay, well, I threw the noodles in, but okay, well, what other ingredients? But you didn't tell me to throw ingredients. And that's kind of where the Canada Disability Benefits that. It's empty. Like there's no content. But that's all you asked me to do. And I walk away and they're like, well, the water's bubbling, the spaghetti's ready. Oh, really? Oh, okay. You didn't tell me to do anything else.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, so I always talk about the spaghetti episode every so often, and people laugh about it. And they're like, that's kind of, I kind of put that in the context. Like, it's empty.
Everybody across Canada is saying, show me the money.
Show me the money.
Show me the money, right?
I believe it when it's in my bank account. That's
right.
One time I believe it. Yeah. Otherwise, it's all empty words. It's empty words.
We're already at the top of the hour, Brendan, which is about time for closing comments.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, well, first of all, Dave, this episode went so fast.
Yeah.
Like we just piled in a lot.
Lightning fast,
and I always like to just kind of extend the offer to you to have you come back on as another segment, and we can continue on.
Thank you
Yeah,
for the invitation.
Yes.
When I got Neil's original email,
yeah.
I quickly watched a podcast or two before I
Yeah.
Hmm.
replied, and actually the podcast I watched,
Yeah.
um, I was mentioned in it.
Yeah. No, it does feel like we're brothers from another mother in some sense, because like I said, like when I was reading your book, it's like I can identify with that, I can identify with that. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's kind of fun. Yeah.
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 I've never been out to BC,
Yeah. No, you have to do it.
so
You have to do it one day.
yeah.
It's really nice. I mean, it's beautiful for the beauty of it. Economically, I think that things could change. I mean, I don't want to throw all the politicians under the bus, but one thing I can say is lower the taxes down, please. Like, really
Yeah.
lower the taxes down, because BC should be the most beautiful province in Canada. I'm only saying that because I haven't seen other provinces, but I guess maybe my perspective would be different if I saw other provinces. But if you haven't been to BC, definitely it would be a place to come to. I mean, especially Victoria, Dave. I mean, oh,
Victoria's nice.
you'd
Victoria's
be in awe when
beautiful.
you saw
Yeah.
Victoria.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest
I,
of BC is great.
I've been to Calgary. I've been to
Calgary is one of my favorite areas.
I've been to Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know what's
Manitoba.
you know what is so stupid, and I admit it's stupid, like, is that I have never been anywhere east of BC. I have never been outside of my own province, except like in Canada. Like I've been outside of Canada. I've been to the States, like
Yeah.
Alaska, and I've been to Mexico, and been to Hawaii, and I've been like to several states. To several
I,
states in all the way to Yellowstone Park and all that. But I have never been east of BC. Isn't that it's sad? It is
actually,
so
Yeah.
sad. I've never
you know what? I've never been stateside.
Oh
No?
really?
I
Okay.
no. I
Oh wow.
my
It's beautiful.
actually my favorite province is the Nova Scotia.
I would love to go there. I would absolutely love to go there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's on one of my bucket lists. I want to go to. I want to see Toronto.
You and I should you and I should do a cross Canada thing.
We will have to do a traveling segment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Traveling with Neo and Sonia
Yeah,
across
there you
PWD
go.
Allies on
Yeah.
location, broadcasting live.
There you
Yeah,
go.
we'll
That'd
do
be fun.
we'll do a show over there, and we'll see. We'll come and say. And today we are our guests, and we have Dave joining us live on location. There we
Maybe
are.
we can help. We can get Jeff Leggett to help sponsor us. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Jeff. Maybe we'll put a little FYI there.
Yeah.
Eh?
Just before we have you go, Dave, there's actually a question in chat.
Oh.
I've been sitting on it for a while. We have Minnie. She's asking, do you have your LLQP license? I have no idea what that is. But she says, do you have your LLQP license?
That's actually your life insurance license. And yes, I got that in
Okay.
2012.
Okay, good. Because she says if you have that, you can sell segregated funds and help people
Yeah,
on ODSP. Yeah.
that's how I launched my business.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I learned something new there too, because I didn't know what LLQP stood.
Yeah.
And,
I don't mind. I don't mind admitting that I know nothing. I'm fine with that. I just say
Me too.
I don't know
Knowing
anything.
nothing about something though. Knowing nothing about something, because it
well,
makes something interesting.
actually, how I got into the business is I met a friend of mine from Toastmasters who was selling registered education funds.
Mhm.
And I had no idea what they were until I met her, and then she explained them. And she knew I was looking for a job, so she recommended I get my license
Mhm.
Hmm.
to do that.
Well,
And I got my license for that. And then that's how, as it evolved.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's the only thing I could sell was education funds.
Right.
So I thought, well, if I get my beach fund license, I can do more.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can help people.
Yeah, that's great.
The only thing I can't do is sell stocks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not
Well, that's something else you can add on to then.
No,
No.
No.
Okay.
He doesn't want to go there on that one, no.
Yeah.
no.
Man, if I only had the foresight to buy Microsoft stock or something when I was younger.
But if
Oh, yeah.
if Minnie is still on and she wants help, get her to reach out to me.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I'm really glad that Minnie suggested to bring you on it.
Actually, I was floored when the podcast I watched.
Yeah.
She mentioned me, and I'm going,
Yeah,
okay,
no, that's good.
yes.
Yeah.
And just again, is it okay if we include links to your main page and stuff in the description of the video and things like that?
For the book, yeah.
For the book, but not for your business, not for Monarch.
Well, I just because I want to keep them, you have to keep them separate.
Or you have to keep them separate. So so only your book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just maybe send me that link again. Send me that link again for your book, and then I'll put that in the description.
Yeah, just because the financial services industry is so highly regulated.
Yeah, I understand.
I have to get permission for everything.
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to ask, because I didn't want you to get in trouble. So yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm very, very cautious about anything I do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, you have to be these days. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
especially
Yeah, send me
the
the link again for your book or your personal
Yeah.
website, and I'll put that in the description.
the tax.
Yeah. I thank you. I thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and I want to thank you, Dave. Definitely, we're going to have you come back on in the very near future, and maybe we can maybe even get Minnie to come on with you.
Sure.
Yeah, we could have done that actually.
Yeah,
like I said,
that's an invitation for you there, Minnie.
we do try it. Sometimes we just kind of roll with it, and we kind of try to customize the shows, but we could have done that. We could have had her on actually. It might have been good. Yeah. Next time.
Yeah. Sure, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed our segment. It's always educational, lots to dive into, lots to learn. I learned a lot today too. So if you want to be a guest on the podcast, reach out to Neil Matheson. You can find the link on the YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, I encourage you to do so you can stay up to date on the latest podcast, or send me an email. If you send it to me, most likely I'll end up forwarding it on to Neil anyway, because Neil does a lot of the programming here. Actually, does all the programming, to be honest. He's awesome. And he's great.
Hey, before we go, I just want to put a shout out. I hope that people watched your last short.
Oh yeah,
with Michael Bublé and
yes.
Canucks, and that you had your name mentioned in the BC legislature.
I did.
I put this nice fancy little short together, and it's one of the most funniest shorts that I did. So I really hope that Michael Bublé sees it. So if you want him, I just kind of a shout out. So I'm hoping that people will help circulate it a little bit. And maybe it'll get in front of Michael Bublé's eyes. We'll see. But
I was really taken away from that. That was like so awesome, that short that you made. And Sonia and myself, we had gone to the BC legislature in Victoria yesterday on Wednesday, and met with some MLAs from different parties, and it was great because staying kind of unbiased, listening to different viewpoints, and it was interesting. And having our names announced in the BC legislature, we had some tickets to go and watch the question period, they call it. Oral question period is what BC they call it in the legislature. So we were watching it live, and the minister who's in charge of persons with disabilities in BC, the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction. Now, I think the name to the government, this is just a little note to the government, maybe take away the word reduction out of that, like poverty elimination, right?
Yes.
So I think that would be better. Or
100%.
why don't we just go back and call it Ministry of Social Services? I think that sounded just perfectly fine. But I know over time, different governments, when they get in, they change the name.
Yeah.
But I wanted to thank, just a shout out to Honorable Sheila Malcolmson. Thank you so much for announcing Sonia and myself in the legislature. That was really great announcement. And she announced us, as great advocates, current advocates. I think it was always trying to find the right word.
I do love that she came on. Like on your part, she didn't have to do that. There's been no active minister that has done that. Yeah, she's the only one that's active that has done that. So I mean, that needs to be said over and over and over again. So
absolutely, Neil. And I reached out, just as a programming note, I put an extended offer to Honorable Ravi Kahlon, the housing minister, to come on. And so, and I know that the opposition critic for the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction, Dan Davies, he definitely wants to come back on. So once the legislature gets back in the session after spring break, I'm going to get them to come on the show. I did give Ravi one of the cards, so I went through a lot of them. I got to restack them up on my wallet. See, so I got the card here. Yeah, and I handed a whole stack of them out. So circulating them around. So, but I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. If you want to be a guest on the show, talk about your lived experience stories, you have ideas of what the theme you would like to talk about, definitely send us off a message. We don't bite. We make you feel comfortable on the show. For sure. Everyone's welcome.
There's emails down in the description, or at the end of the broadcast, we put the emails there as well.
Yeah, everyone's welcome to talk about their lived experience stories as a person with disabilities, or as an ally. Like as an ally, meaning that you have friends of your family that have a disability. You have a disability. You're a doctor or a practitioner. You're a nurse. Doesn't matter. Specialist. Doesn't matter who
planner.
You are. Yeah, financial planner. You name it. I mean, hey, if you're a plumber, you're a carpenter, you can get hurt on the job.
If I had a hammer,
it can happen to any time in their life. They can have a disability, and as we get older, we're going to get more disabilities. Just to let you know, there was one MLA. I'm not going to say what party, and I was actually quite surprised because I didn't know the one MLA. Her daughter has a disability. And I thought, wow. So I gave one of my cards. So we might have a future guest on. So just to let you know there, Neil.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. This has been a lovely, great show. And we'll see you next time. Like I say, reach out. And if you want to be a donor, reach out to us if you like your content.
We're looking at you, Michael Bublé.
Michael Bublé. And yes.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Later. Thank you, everyone.